Welcome. Today's video covers harassment, public filming, identification laws, and detainments, and comes from High Desert Community Watch News Network's channel. A link to the original video can be found in the description below. In May of 2017, High Desert Community Watch News Network conducted a First Amendment audit of the Simi Valley Police Department in Simi Valley, California. The following footage is from his channel.
So this is the Simi Valley Police Department. We have to walk between the city hall and all that to get to the other side, I believe. We've never been here, so we're not sure where we're walking to. Stay safe.
How you guys doing?
Good.
What you up to?
Just filming the station.
Why?
Just doing a little story.
A little story? On what?
The station?
What kind of story? I like stories.
I can't say nothing because it's not published yet.
Huh?
I can't say nothing because it's not published yet.
Oh. Is it for like a magazine or movies or what?
I don't know yet. Depends on who picks it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was trying to get somebody like driving in and out without stopping.
Who's your friend?
Just a friend of mine.
Part of the movies too? He doesn't talk or what?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure if he
He
talks?
talks to me.
Do you know him?
Huh?
Do you know him?
I'm not going to answer no questions.
Oh, alright. Do you have any ID?
For what?
Just get to know you.
Oh, can I see your ID?
Yeah, it's Officer Stringer.
No, not.
Badge is right here.
No, your ID, where you live.
Where I live?
Yeah.
Why do you want to know where I live?
Why would you want to know where I live?
I didn't ask where you live. I asked what your name was.
Oh, I don't think I have to give that up.
No, you don't. I'm just wondering if you wanted to or not.
Oh, no.
Because most people are usually pretty friendly with us, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my name's Joe. Hey, I'm David."
I don't give my name out to just strangers. Anybody.
I'm not a stranger.
Oh, yes, Joe. I don't know you.
I'm Officer Stringer.
Yeah, but I don't know your background. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around. I mean, yeah.
It's not because you're on probation or anything, right?
I don't answer questions.
Well, if you're on probation, you have to.
I don't answer questions.
All right. You understand?
I thought it was a friendly. See how it turns into you're trying to get me for something? You're dismissed. You can go now. We're done with it. You're dismissed. Thank you.
All I asked you was what's your name?
You're dismissed. Thank you. You guys always got to be rude and intrusive. This is a First Amendment.
Asking someone what your name is rude?
For my ID, sir? Who are you that I would have to give you my ID? And why would I want you, with all this stuff, all the police killing civilians, why would I want you to give you my name so you can retaliate? No, thank you.
Listen.
No, I don't have to listen. Thank you. You have a good day. No, you're dismissed. Both of you guys.
You're dismissed.
No, you're dismissed. You work for us. I don't work for you.
The auditor, unhappy with the words and actions of the officer, states he is being rude, and, quote-unquote, dismisses him. Just like how police officers have no authority to order a citizen to move from an area simply because the officer doesn't like his attitude or speech, citizens have no authority to do that to an officer. As far as the law is concerned, an officer has an equal right to be in public spaces that other citizens have a right to be in, even if the citizens dislike the officer's expression or attitude.
We pay taxes, so you work for us.
I don't follow orders from you.
Yeah, well, we don't follow orders from you, sir.
In this case, I'm not ordering you to do anything.
Well, it's just, why would you ask me for ID? It's
That's
just
a simple question.
It's just rude. It's just rude. It's just rude. It's just rude, man.
I didn't say you had to.
And why did you ask me if you're on probation? Your whole point of stopping. Listen, your whole point of stopping. Exactly. Your whole point of stopping everybody is to see what you could put them in jail for. You know what? You're dismissed because you're not going to put us in jail because you don't have no right to even ask me for ID. As far as legally, you shouldn't even be stopping and bothering me when I'm doing a First Amendment protected activity. Do you know Fordyce versus Seattle? Do you know California Code 148.G?
Under the Fourth Amendment, police officers are permitted to stop and identify individuals anytime they have reasonable suspicion that the person is involved in illegal activity. However, there is no law prohibiting the auditor from recording or from standing where he is. In fact, California Penal Code 148, Section G says, the fact that a person takes a photograph or makes an audio or video recording of a public officer or peace officer, while the officer is in a public place or the person taking the photograph or making the recording is in a place he or she has the right to be, does not constitute reasonable suspicion to detain the person. Given the fact that the auditor is simply filming public officials from an open public space, which he has a right to do under this statute, it is clear the officers would have no authority under the Fourth Amendment to detain him or force him to identify himself, and even if they did, California law generally does not require stopped individuals to identify themselves. To that extent, the auditor is correct. However, the auditor was never seized in this case because, although the officer may have been annoying, the fact that a person is annoyed or questioned about his identity does not mean he was either prohibited from leaving or forced to leave. In the case of United States v. Santamaria-Hernandez, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which governs California, said, a seizure does not occur if, in response to a show of authority, the subject does not yield. In that event, the seizure occurs only when the police physically subdue the subject. Additionally, the court said in United States v. Hernandez, only when an encounter is classified as a seizure must we determine whether there was reasonable suspicion. Since the officers never used physical force against the auditor and the auditor refused to submit to whatever show of authority the officers may have portrayed, he was not detained, even though they asked him uncomfortable questions. As the U.S. Supreme Court stated in the case of Hiibel v. 6th Judicial District Court of Nevada, in the ordinary course a police officer is free to ask a person for identification without implicating the Fourth Amendment. Interrogation relating to one's identity or a request for identification by the police does not, by itself, constitute a Fourth Amendment seizure. Therefore, the officers have not violated the Fourth Amendment.
You can go, sir. Thank you. We would like to be left alone, sir. Respect our wishes. Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
Public place I can stand here?
Well, you're not paid to stand around, sir.
My boss says I can stand here as long as I'm...
How much you make a year, sir? Are you saying that to your residents in this city, that you're allowed to just stand here and bother people that are conducting a total lawful activity?
You're fine to stand there as long as you want to.
No. I asked you a question. Are you telling me that you're going to waste taxpayers' money by standing there, harassing and bothering people that are doing nothing illegal? Just answer that question.
What's harassing you about what?
Trying to find out my information. I don't know you. I don't know you if you're a corrupt police officer or not. Why would I give you my name?
Hey, what's your name, officer?
No. Let me see your ID where you live.
Why would I do that?
Exactly. Why would I do that with you? We're both men, right? We're both men, right?
We're not requiring you to do it.
You didn't. Yeah, but you didn't ask in the way that he said it, and then he moved on to probation.
Hey, do you have your ID on you? Are you on probation?
Why?
Because
What is your reasonable articulate suspicion for asking that?
you don't need to. You're in a public place. We're just talking with you. We're not requiring you.
You're
to
bothering us. I've already said a couple of times if you guys can leave us alone so we can continue with our project, and you won't leave us alone. Now you're harassing us.
The auditor claims the officers are harassing them, essentially because they are annoying them by asking them offensive questions and being bothersome. If this was all that was necessary to punish a person with harassment, freedom of speech under the First Amendment would be reduced to paper and ink. However, such an important right is not so fragile. In the case of Snyder versus Phelps, a self-proclaimed Baptist church group picketed the funeral of a fallen soldier by standing outside the building, being obnoxious, and holding signs that said things like "God hates you" and "Thank God for dead soldiers," along with other outrageous and offensive acts. In an 8-1 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the First Amendment prohibited the group from being sued and said, "The Constitution does not permit the government to decide which types of otherwise protected speech are sufficiently offensive to require protection for the unwilling listener or viewer." Consequently, a state law defining harassment as asking offensive questions and being annoying runs contrary to the basic principles of the First Amendment. Rather, Section 527.6, Section B3 of the California Code of Civil Procedure, which authorizes victims of harassment to obtain a restraining order, says, harassment is unlawful violence, a credible threat of violence, or a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses the person, that serves no legitimate purpose, and that would cause a reasonable person to suffer emotional distress. Additionally, California Penal Code 646.9 says, any person who willfully, maliciously, and repeatedly follows or willfully and maliciously harasses another person and who makes a credible threat with the intent to place that person in reasonable fear for his or her safety or the safety of his or her immediate family is guilty of the crime of stalking. Section E of this code says, for the purposes of this section, harasses means engages in a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, torments, or terrorizes the person, and that serves no legitimate purpose. These are the only relevant laws here that define harassment, and it would be outrageous to believe that either of these standards are met by asking a few annoying questions and being slightly bothersome, especially considering the fact that the auditor is free to leave at any time, was informed that he does not have to provide his name, and so far has only spent 3 minutes and 31 seconds with the officer since he was first asked if he had an ID.
Here's a double standard, guys.
There's not.
I can stand here, you can stand here. There's no
You're
need to
getting
know who
paid.
you are. I just want.
Okay, I'm gonna stop talking to you, and I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit. What's your name, badge number, sir?
Officer Stradling.
What's your badge number? 37 461. What's your name, badge number, please?
Officer Stringer, 113.
Can you please leave us alone now?
I've never kept you from doing anything. You're more than welcome to do whatever you like.
Okay, but we don't want to be interrogated, sir.
We're not interrogating you.
Because you can't, because we're not doing nothing illegal, and that's why, that's the only thing holding you. You realize that the law is the only thing holding you back from you imposing your will right now? Because you know we're not doing nothing illegal, so why would you pry into my privacy and ask me if I'm not doing nothing illegal? He asked me if I'm on parole. That's an insult. Why would he assume that I'm on parole?
He's on probation.
Why?
Because we ask everybody.
Why?
Why not?
Why?
You know who we're talking to. It's for our safety.
From
Your safety?
from a law standpoint,
You shouldn't be a cop if you're that much of a scaredy cat, sir.
No one said I'm scared. We like to know who we're talking to. And since you said you...
We want to be left alone, please. We're asking you nice.
We're not detaining you. You guys are more than free to be...
We just want to be left alone.
We'll let you carry on.
Thank you. Jeez, is that so hard?
After a short discussion, the officers went on their way and there were no further incidents. Overall, High Desert Community Watch News Network gets an F for being overly aggressive, acting as though he could order around the officers, misrepresenting the law regarding detainments and identification, baselessly accusing the officers of harassment, and escalating an otherwise peaceful situation into something that could cause the officers to harbor animosity toward First Amendment auditors in the future. He also responded to the officer's request for his name by asking how he could know the officer wasn't corrupt, while getting mad at the officer for asking how they should know he was not on probation. The auditor would do well to revisit the laws on the issue and how he conducts audits in the future. The officers get a B+, because while they were generally calm and cordial, they continued attempting to converse with the auditor after knowing it wouldn't bear any fruit in the end. The first officer appeared ready to stand there all day, which, as the auditor pointed out, would be unprofessional and a waste of taxpayer dollars. Additionally, his question about whether the auditor was on probation was unnecessary, and although it is perfectly lawful, officers should never openly question the innocence of individuals without at least some evidence to go off of. All that said, neither of the officers stepped outside the bounds of their authority at any time and generally handled the situation professionally and courteously.